If you've been learning Spanish for a little while now, my guess is that at one point or another, life has gotten in the way and it's been really hard to keep up. But if that is happening frequently, or if you're having negative feelings toward your Spanish language learning, could that be a sign that you need to take a break from it and pick it up a little later? Let's talk about it. What's up, language leaders? Welcome back to another video. If you and I are just now meeting, bienvenidos. My name is Erica. I am a self-taught Spanish speaker, a Spanish language coach, and my mission here is to help you love, learn, and live the Spanish language. If you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and that bell, join the family, and let's get going. Now, the question today is, can I take a break from learning Spanish? But let's be real here, that's not actually the question. I mean, if it were, the answer would be really simple. Sure you can. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. So what you're really asking me when you ask this question is, can I take a break without losing everything or without losing a lot of my progress, of what I've accomplished? Now, I definitely have some things to say about that, but you're gonna have to wait. Before we go down the path of how do we minimize the damage that a break could potentially cause, we have to address that question of if a break is even necessary. So start by asking yourself this question: am I no longer having fun learning Spanish? There could be a few reasons why. Are you studying things that are no longer relevant or interesting to you? Are you in a chapter of your self-study resource that's talking about how to have an interview in Spanish and you know that you're just never going to do that, so you've kind of tuned out? Then skip that lesson. Or is there a piece of comprehensible input that you were just loving in the beginning, but now it's kind of boring, or you're just not feeling it anymore? Switch up that resource. You have to think, what can you do to make Spanish interesting to you again? Sometimes this is deep, guys. I mean, if your Spanish was connected to a relationship that ended poorly, and so your actual Spanish studies have kind of spiraled out of control because it's connected to all of these bad memories, well, then you're gonna have to think, is this something that I really wanted to do for me? And if that is the case, you may have to make new memories, new friends, new people, just so that you're able to move on emotionally and mentally with the goal that you set out for yourself. What you're really going to have to do is form a personal connection with that language so that no external event can get you off track. So if you can figure out why you're no longer having fun with the language, you may not need a break. I discussed ways to keep the language interesting and relevant in this video. Second question you need to ask yourself, is there a certain aspect of the language itself, like a certain skill, that is frustrating you? Take speaking, for example. Could it be that you started trying to have conversations too soon without forming any kind of base of vocabulary, and therefore every time you go to try to have a speaking session with your tutor or something like that, it just doesn't go well and you feel very frustrated? I've definitely seen that happen, and it can be very discouraging, but it could just be that you are not ready for that yet. So can you take a look at your routine and figure out how to keep it comprehensive with a listening, reading, writing, and speaking without actually having conversations yet, if that's the part that's frustrating you? I talked about that in this video, about how you can speak without actually speaking to a person. There are definitely ways to do that. Maybe you started jumping into conversations without first really working on your pronunciation, which is fundamental for so many reasons. One of them being so that you can be understood. Maybe you've learned all of these phrases, but every time you go to open your mouth, no one understands you because you just have to back it up a little bit. And even though it may be a little bit tedious, work on the pronunciation first. Is it the speaking? Is it the listening? Are you trying to, as a beginner, watch Netflix in Spanish and frustrated because you can't understand anything, even though you've been studying for 3 months? Listening comprehension is a very complex skill, and it takes years to develop that skill at a native-like level because of the variety of vocabulary, because of the connected speech, because of the speed with which the language is spoken, and other factors. Listening is a skill that has a lot of moving parts. So if that is what is frustrating you, again, back it up a little bit and make sure that you're finding material that is comprehensible for you. Guys, it's comprehensible input, not just input in general, that's going to move you forward. You may need to make sure that you're listening to material that is designed for learners, that's a little slower, that's a little clearer. That's okay. It is not going to prevent you from understanding the native level material later. You will get there, but you have to start somewhere. So if you can identify if there is an aspect of the language that is frustrating you and how you can fix that, how you can tweak it and bring it back down to your level, you may not actually need to take a break. Third question to ask yourself, is this a time management issue? Do you feel like you just don't have that hour to sit down every day and really get into your Spanish study? For most people, it is very advantageous to break that learning up. Create habits. How can you form habits throughout the day? How can you find little pockets of time in which you can get in some Spanish? Can you do flashcards in the morning with breakfast? Listening to a podcast during your commute? Can you read for a few minutes on your lunch break and then again when you get home? Okay, little pockets of time so that you don't feel like, oh, I have to find an hour. I have to find this big block of time. I'm so busy, I can't do it. I really bet that you can. It just takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of thinking, what can I do to maximize the time that I do have? We've talked about habits pretty extensively on this channel. You can check out this video for more information. So know that usually there is a way to continue along with your Spanish studies without taking a break, but you have to identify what is making you feel like you need that break. So ask yourself those questions before determining that you need to just hang it up and leave the Spanish alone for a time. And to help you know what other questions you can ask yourself before making that decision, why not take a look at my language audit checklist? It is a simple checklist so that you can ask yourself questions and find those holes in your routine or those areas where it just may not be optimized for maximum learning and maximum enjoyment. But guys, there's no denying that there may be times when you genuinely and sincerely do need to take a break. So in my next video, we'll be discussing some of those things as well as learning what are some of the things that you can do to minimize the negative effects that a break could potentially have on your language learning. So be sure that you've hit that notification bell so that you are notified as soon as I upload that video. So I want you to take a moment to think about the times in the past where you've taken a break from learning Spanish, because I know you have, and what the reason was behind that. Do you feel like it was justified, or do you feel like you could have possibly prevented that by asking yourself some of the questions that we've discussed today? I would love to hear from you, so let us know in the comments below. For additional help, check out one of these other videos that I've made reference to. That's going to be all for today, but don't forget to go out and live a new language today. I'll see you next time. Hasta la próxima.